Control versus change. Throughout the history of the entire universe, we have seen that if anything is constant, it's change. The one thing that has the ability to either drop us flat on our face or gently on our feet is change. Our best friend and enemy. Think about a time when you had everything figured out. Maybe it was a future event, future relationship, or a future occupational decision. Whatever it may have been, you knew everything about it. Remember the amount of effort you put into that plan and the excitement that built up as it got closer and closer. Now, remember the feeling you had when it all blew up because something changed. Think back on the feeling of knowing that all your hard work had been a huge waste of time. I think that all of us have felt at one point or another this way. Completely defeated and out of control, which is somewhere we don't like to be. When we have control of something, we have peace thinking that everything will be okay. But what happens when things don't go as planned? We tend to get angry, nervous, sad, or even stubborn when certain situations don't go as planned. But the truth is that we didn't have control over it to start with. This is an issue that I, to this day, struggle with. I'm a perfectionist. Therefore, organizing the perfect plan and then having it not go my way is difficult for me to accept. I need to remember that it is not my plan, but God's plan, because He is in control of my life. We, as Christ's body, know that God's plans are always better than our own. So why do we fight it? A few weeks ago, I came up with this 3-step plan that will help me get closer to understanding God's plans for my life. I encourage you to join me as we apply these steps to acquire enlightenment. The first step is called Fix That Attitude. I realize that many times when unlikable change comes my way, I simply deal with it in a very negative manner. I make the decision in my head that I won't accept it. So I become angry with it, I get frustrated, nervous, and very stubborn. The problem is that the attitude I have toward change is the same attitude I have with everything and everyone around me. For example, if I'm angry, then everything I look at is bad and everyone bothers me in some way or another. But this isn't right. We are called to love God and then love one another. If my attitude toward change is negative, then my attitude with everything else will also be negative, and that means that I need to fix that attitude. Remember, just because it's inconvenient doesn't mean it isn't meaningful. The second step is called back up. Many times in our lives, we are faced with countless difficult circumstances. They are absolutely horrible and seem impossible to get through. However, I discovered that just because it looks bad doesn't mean it is bad. Sometimes where we see a mess, God sees beauty. The reason why we are only able to see it as negative is because we are way too close to the situation. Of course, you're not going to see something beautiful if what you're looking at is the problem. Therefore, the second thing we need to do is make the decision to back up and try to look at our situation in a different light. God turns dust into something beautiful. Remember, that is how He made us. However, there are circumstances where even when we back up, we continue to see a mess. And we just can't understand why we're going through this difficult situation. Let me ask you a question. What do you do when you're looking at an abstract painting and you can't understand the painting? You ask the artist. We aren't going to understand the painting because we didn't paint it. And sometimes, even when we do ask the artist, we don't get an answer because it isn't for us to understand. Finally, the third point is called let it go. Because too many times we hold on to things that only become obstacles in our lives and in our growth as people. The things we hold on to become burdens too heavy to carry because they're God's to take care of, not ours. We like to think that if we hang on to it, then we can control it. But change is unpredictable, and we can't control when it comes or what it does. It isn't our job to worry about certain things, and that's when we need to pray and let it go. Because if we don't, we continue to let it be an obstruction for amazing things in our lives. Therefore, I encourage you, as I continue to encourage myself, to take heart and trust God, because He is omnipotent and almighty for a reason. So the question is, the choice is yours. Will you let it go? Isaiah 43:18-19 says, "Forget the former things. Do not dwell on the past. See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? I am making a way in the wilderness and streams in the wasteland."